Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and in this G.I. Joe classic review, we're going to be taking a look at none other than everyone's favorite ninja, Storm Shadow. And before anyone asks, this is one of my original Storm Shadows. And when you say, what do you mean one of them? I originally had one as a kid, and I also acquired, I believe, two. Two of them stayed in relatively good shape, which I still do have. The one that was all floppy, I did get rid of him. This one always stayed in the best condition. The Cobra symbol is in great shape. The backpack here is the original, along with one of the swords. But I do have to admit, the short sword and the bow is not my original. The nunchucks also were the original too. So we're going to take a look at this guy. He is still in good shape, and I think because I was able to have more than one, I know I wasn't army building, but when people were getting rid of them, I did acquire them through trades or whatever. I always kept one in great shape. Now, I will be 100% honest. I do think that the bow is a repro. Not 3D printed, but a repro. That's how they used to do things. I actually bought the other Storm Shadow because he actually had the bow and the short sword, and I wanted it to complete it. I have no intention of ever selling this figure. This was one of my favorite figures growing up, just like so many others. I did get it. Quick story. We were going to Sears, and my dad had said, you cannot get any G.I. Joes. And I said, I don't really care. The only one that I want is Storm Shadow, and I'm not going to find him ever. So it's like the story of my life. I'm never going to find him, Dad. We go to Sears. Two of them sitting right there on the pegs. And I begged and I pleaded, Dad, please, 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 no, please. I told you you're not getting any. And the only reason why I was able to get this guy was because the guy working the toy section, the clerk there, he says to my dad, he goes, that one is super hard to get. It comes and it is gone faster than we can even get them out here. And my dad's, fine, you can get them. I'll tell you, I kept my stuff. So no matter what you say, $269 is what these were roughly around that time. Dad, I got my money's worth. Well, I got your money worth out of this figure. Anyway, I think I've spoken enough. Let's get to this, but before we do, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop one of these wonderful classic reviews of G.I. Joe. All right, and here we have Storm Shadow. This is seriously one of the coolest figures you're ever going to see. One of the best figures ever made, bar none. So anyway, let's take a look at what he does come with. Now, I think we were all, as kids, kind of enamored with the lore of ninjas. And first, he comes with this wonderful, wonderful backpack, all right? And everything can be held on it. So this is the bow, all right? And you can see right there, there is a small little hole that you can peg that in. You can see the white stuff right there. Well, that's because I use a little bit of sticky tack to keep this thing on. Like I said, I believe that this may be a repro, considering the string is still together. Now, there's not a lot of detail other than a little handle right there, but this actually plugs right in there. And you can see that there's two little notches. And this is actually goes in like this. All right. And then if it wasn't bent, it would stay on a lot easier. But again, you do have that nice little notch that holds it right where it's supposed to be. So on the backpack here, it is also a quiver. So if you can't tell, what you have is the actual arrows right here that are going into this quiver, all right, along with a little bit of detail just kind of wrapping around it. On the inside here, you're going to have one long sword, which is really small. It's very short. And you have detail all around the handle. Again, this was before they went absolutely crazy. And then you have the short sword, exact same detail on the handle. And just for reference, if you're wondering, that is the size difference between them. All right. So much smaller than this one, but also the handle is a little bit different. So that's why a lot of times you'll see in other iterations of Storm Shadow that he will have two different size swords. All right. Then they made it so the nunchucks can be dropped into here. And now this whole thing does open up. And look how cool it is that they actually made it and designed it so the arrows are still going all the way down. So you get your feathers up here, whatever you want to call them, and then you have your arrows going all the way down. They didn't leave out any detail. All right. And then you have your nunchucks. And again, these are not the ones that were made in, what, 2020, 2021, where these probably won't just break. But you look at the detail, it's got some handles, and then it's supposed to be a chain, just kind of running across there. And again, they were always a little bent, if I remember correctly. I don't think they were ever straight. But this thing here, you would just be able to kind of plug that in. And once you snap it where you need to be, wow. I don't open this up too often, that is for sure. It stays right where it needs to be. Now, you can see exactly how this went. Now, technically, you could put the swords in either sheath there, but if you put it in the bottom sheath, if I remember correctly, it did not look proper, or something kind of. Oh, you know what it was? Is this one wanted to fall out a little too easy because it's a little bit longer right there. But the long sword is supposed to go on the top. You can see how that fits right out there. And then you have the short sword fit right through there. So awesome, awesome backpack. And once again, if you're ever wondering how it fits, it's supposed to go on an angle. You can see the arch of the back right there. Now on to this figure, and honestly, he's so cool. I can't say enough awesome things about Storm Shadow. Now, he is faded a bit because I didn't try. I did successfully use the peroxide and put him out, let him sit for like a day. So his Cobra symbol has turned more orange than red. But again, this is my original one, and I'm one of my original ones. So I'm more than happy to keep him in the shape that he's in. All right, so quickly looking at it, you still get the eyebrows, you get a better look at the eyes, and then you get that little dot right there. His white face, and then he's got the white mask that goes all the way around. And I love the fact that you can see the design right here. You can see where his lips are supposed to be and how his nose are, but you can just see the wrinkles going through it. As for his gi, I believe is what it's called. It might be wrong for a ninja, but you can see how it wraps around here. He's got the short sleeves, all right, and they do protrude out a little bit. That broken. I never had an issue with this until Flint's arm broke right off. All right, so here you have his, I don't even know what it's called, a sash that goes around, and the fact that you can see really nicely the different holes and the way this is painted silver for the buckle. I think that looks absolutely awesome. And then it's going to wrap around his belt here. You see the little tie where it's tied together. And he's walking around with a small little knife and two throwing stars. They were known as Chinese stars when we were kids, but I think that's politically incorrect to say these days. All right. On him here, he does have the sweatbands, whatever you want to call it, the armbands, probably to protect him from different swords, different things like that. Not that a sword isn't going to cut through that, but it is going to protect his arms a little bit. You have his nice crotch. I can't believe I just said that. But you can see the wrinkles, the rolls in it, giving you a nice look to it, flowing all the way down his legs. And it is perfectly, it is just shown so well. And then when you get to the bottom where the boot begins, it is puffed up. Now, this is how a lot of ninjas are shown in different movies and stuff, and different iterations. So I think it does a really good job. You can't see it all that well when you're a kid, but it's there. And then you get down to the boots, all right, which are going to be a really... they're going to be a tight boot because you're going to want something like that when you're throwing kicks and stuff like that. And then with most ninjas, their boot almost always has that one toe that's kind of like in between the toe, the crease where it goes inside of it. And they did that right on this figure too. And then you obviously have the pegs, which works really well because, let's be honest, you want to have this guy throwing kicks, side kicks, different things like that. And, well, you can get him on one foot, but I don't think you're getting in too many kick positions without a stand. Although we could probably do it, right? I'm not going to waste everyone's time trying to get this. You got to do a lot of weight distribution, and you're definitely not going to do it with a backpack. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. As for his articulation, the head does turn side to side. This would have been a wonderful one if it had the ball joint up here so he could look down a little bit. Your T-pose, he's got the swivel right here at the shoulders. 90-degree right there, and then the swivel arm battle grip. You can see this one's getting kind of loose. He can turn side to side. Has that O-ring right there. Pretty good Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is really good considering he's a ninja. But he also needs to be able to kick. So he gets that perfect 90-degree turn right there. And then you're going to get that knee bend, which is 90 degrees. So that is your Storm Shadow. Now what we're going to do is throw the backpack on him. If I can find the hole for the peg. And as you can see, it wraps around like that. And take our little sword out, and I do mean little sword. These things are so short, and especially what they ended up doing later on. I always remember, and whether this is true or not, ninjas were supposed to have shorter swords than like samurais because they were assassins, and you'd be going through hallways. And you wouldn't want a big, long samurai sword impeding hitting walls. That's why you would use shorter swords to fight the katanas. So there you go. That is your Storm Shadow, and I'd love to hear a story if you had this figure as a kid. All right, so there you go. That is Storm Shadow. Again, I love this figure. I said early in another video, I didn't feel like I always had to have, I didn't feel like I needed figures that had more stuff to make the value seem there. But I love the fact that everything could fit on this guy's person. All right, his bow and arrow plugged in here, his two swords, and even his nunchucks went in there, and they made the backpack open up. So anyway, tell me if you had this figure. I know a lot of people didn't. Maybe people were like me. They acquired other ones through trades and means like that. Again, I don't know who was willing to trade me Storm Shadow, but like I said, I ended up with two of them, and I already had one. And then later on in life, I was able to complete him, and like I said, maybe you can tell by the video if this is a real bow. The fact that the string isn't broke and the way that it's warped makes me think that it's not. But it doesn't matter to me because I wanted him complete for myself. I'm never planning on selling him, and if I ever did, I would make sure people know that is not the original bow. But since I have no plans, it doesn't matter. But I think it's time to move on. Tell you guys what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. But now I'm going to get out of here. What you're saying is, hey, I need this guy to be on something. And right here, he could hang on to Skyhawk while he's trying to infiltrate G.I. Joe when he was still bad. And down here will be the playlist of all the G.I. Joe stuff that I've done. Classic reviews. Take care.